The quiet farmer walked into the luxurious dealership, his boots dusty from the fields, and his clothes simple yet clean. The staff sneered, their polished smiles hiding judgment. "We don't sell tractors here," one quipped, drawing laughter from the others. But the farmer's calm demeanor didn't falter. "I'm here to buy your most expensive car," he said softly. The laughter grew louder until he pulled out a checkbook, revealing a fortune earned through years of hard work. Silence swept the room as realization struck. This wasn't just any farmer. This was a man who had built his success from the ground up, proving that appearances can be deceiving and humility often hides the greatest strength. The warm sunlight of a late summer afternoon filtered through the expansive windows of a luxury car dealership. Inside, gleaming sports cars and sleek sedans sat proudly on display, their polished surfaces reflecting the meticulous care put into each detail. The air smelled faintly of leather and engine oil, a heady mix that screamed opulence. Salesmen, dressed in tailored suits, stood in small groups, chatting idly while occasionally casting watchful glances at the entrance, hoping for the arrival of wealthy clients. The doors slid open, and the figure who entered seemed completely out of place. He was an older man, his face weathered and tanned from years of working under the sun. His plaid shirt, worn jeans, and mud-caked boots stood in stark contrast to the pristine showroom. Slinging a simple canvas bag over his shoulder, he paused to take in his surroundings, his eyes scanning the room with quiet curiosity. "May I help you?" one of the salesmen asked, his tone laced with condescension. His name tag read Steve. The farmer nodded, gesturing toward a bright red sports car that looked like it had been carved from a single block of fire. "I'd like to learn more about that one." Steve's eyebrows arched in mock surprise. He exchanged a look with another salesman, who chuckled softly. "That's the R800 Turbo," Steve said, folding his arms. "Top-of-the-line performance, 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, and costs more than most people make in 10 years. Are you sure that's what you're interested in?" Unfazed by the remark, the farmer stepped closer to the car. His calloused hand traced the curve of its sleek body, his touch gentle, almost reverent. "Beautiful piece of work," he said softly. "Yes, it is," Steve replied, his sarcasm poorly masked. "Unfortunately, we don't offer test drives too." The farmer turned to face him, his expression calm. "I didn't ask for a test drive. I asked for information." Steve sighed, clearly irritated, but he launched into a rehearsed spiel about the car's features. His words, however, were half-hearted, as if he assumed this man wasn't worth his time. Meanwhile, other employees glanced over, smirking at the interaction. The farmer listened intently, nodding at intervals. When Steve finished, he asked, "And how much does it cost?" $275,000, Steve replied, emphasizing every word. "Plus taxes, of course." "That's quite a sum," the farmer said thoughtfully. He reached into his bag, pulling out a small notebook and a pen. Scribbling something down, he asked, "Do you accept checks?" Steve's condescending demeanor turned into outright laughter. "Checks? For a car like this? Sir, I don't mean to be rude, but maybe you'd be more comfortable looking at something more affordable. Perhaps one of our pre-owned models." The farmer tilted his head slightly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "I didn't ask for your opinion, son. I asked if you accept checks." At this point, the commotion had drawn the attention of the dealership manager, Mr. Howard, who approached with a practiced smile. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his tone smooth and professional. "This gentleman is interested in the R800 Turbo," Steve said, barely able to suppress his amusement. "He wants to know if we accept checks." Howard studied the farmer for a moment, his smile unwavering. "We do, sir," he said. "But, of course, for a vehicle of this price, we'd need to verify funds before proceeding." "Fair enough," the farmer replied. He reached into his bag again, this time pulling out a checkbook. Carefully, He wrote out the full amount, including taxes, and handed the check to Howard. Steve's jaw dropped. Howard's smile faltered for the briefest moment before he regained his composure. "If you'll excuse me, sir, I'll just have our finance department verify this," he said, hurrying away with the check. As Howard disappeared into an office, the room fell silent. All eyes were on the farmer, who stood calmly by the car, seemingly unbothered by the attention. After several tense minutes, Howard returned, his expression transformed. The practiced smile was gone, replaced by genuine respect. "Mr. Carter," he said, addressing the farmer by name for the first time, "I apologize for any inconvenience. Your funds have been verified. The car is yours if you'd like to proceed." Steve's face turned a deep shade of red. He opened his mouth to speak, but quickly shut it again, realizing he had nothing to say. The farmer looked at Howard, then at Steve, before speaking. "I'll take it," he said simply. Howard gestured for another employee to begin the paperwork. As the process unfolded, Steve lingered nearby, his discomfort evident. Finally he muttered, "I'm sorry if I was dismissive earlier." The farmer met his gaze, his expression unreadable. "Apology accepted," he said. Then, after a pause, he added, "But maybe next time you'll think twice before judging someone by their appearance." By the time the transaction was complete, word of the sale had spread throughout the dealership. Employees who had initially mocked the farmer now treated him with deference, rushing to assist with every detail. When the keys were handed over, the farmer climbed into the driver's seat, his movements deliberate. The engine roared to life, a sound that seemed to echo his triumph. As he drove out of the showroom, he paused briefly, lowering the window. "Beautiful piece of work," he said again, this time addressing the car itself. Then, with a nod to Howard, he added, "And so was your service." "Thank you." The luxury car glided out onto the street, its sleek form catching the sunlight. Inside, the farmer allowed himself a small smile, savoring the moment. Back at the dealership, Steve stood in stunned silence. Howard approached him, his tone firm. "Let this be a lesson," he said. "Respect costs nothing, but it's worth everything." The story didn't end there. Within days, news of the farmer's purchase spread across social media, sparking a wave of admiration and discussion. People praised the farmer's humility and perseverance, contrasting it with the arrogance he had encountered. As for the farmer, he returned to his modest home, where the luxury car now sat beside his trusty old tractor. It wasn't just a symbol of his success, but a reminder of the values that had guided him: hard work, humility, and self-respect. In the months that followed, the farmer used his newfound attention to advocate for rural communities, sharing stories of resilience and hope. His story became a beacon of inspiration, proving that appearances could be deceiving and that true worth lay in character, not material possessions. And as the seasons changed, the farmer continued his work, tending to the land with the same dedication that had brought him success. Each day, as he passed the gleaming car in his driveway, he was reminded of the journey that had brought him there, a journey not defined by luxury, but by the unyielding spirit of a man who refused to be underestimated.